Hey, folks, welcome to the ACMike Show. I'm ACMike Lopez, your host for today. So glad that you're here with us. We got a packed show today for you. Shawn Hazan, Hazan.com, DJ Expo lifestyle specialist. Sylvia, DJ, yoga, astrologer. That's going to be an interesting interview. And then we have to close out the show, one of my favorite fighters of all time, Kelly, the Ghost Pavlik. So, folks, please stay right where you're at. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, welcome back to the ACMike Show. Listen, we have a very special guest for you here, a newfound friend of ACMike and Atlantic City, but you're going to learn that he's been in AC for a long time. Hazcom, DJ Expo, NYC in the house, lifestyle event specialist, my man, Shawn Hazan. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, brother. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure for sure. So listen, man, let's get to know Shawn a little bit. You used to run shows, major global cities. What are some of your thoughts? We're going to bang right into AC. What are some of your thoughts about AC and the first part of that?
Global cities, been around the world running events, and I'm blown away by AC. I think it is in the perfect prime to take its place in the event stage globally. And if not, certainly domestically. A lot of opportunity here. Great infrastructure, great people, great culture.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that people, when they get here, they see it, they fall in love with it, as long as they get out of those buildings. Because a lot of times when events are done and the folks that are putting these events on, you don't get a lot of time to get out and see what the city is all about. You know, as you go about this coming up to the DJ Expo in August, you know, what is your future vision of it? I mean, tell us how many years it's been going on. And
over 32 years in the city. And you bring up a really good point, and that's part of the vision. The vision is, let's break down the walls. So we have an event that is the nexus of everything DJ, from equipment to paraphernalia to clothing. But how do we get in the city engaged, and how do we become a part of the community? Music is lifestyle, and we want to engage the community. So we're going to come out of the walls is our vision, and be a part of the city and find collaborations. We've talked about some of them as it relates to engaging the city, the volunteers of the city, the retail environment that exists here, the food people that are here, the restaurants. I think the goal is to create a cultural community that extends from an event, or the festivalization of what usually happens behind the walls.
Yeah, and that's it's the clear-cut way to go about this thing. Listen, let us know, share what your thoughts are. We palled around a little bit for a few days. Our good friend Shelly Williams over at Hard Rock Atlantic City, who's been great to the Atlantic City community, not only the community, to the ACMike Show. She introduced the two of us, and that woman, I don't want to call her a boss. That's a leader. That's a leader. We're going to have her on the show too. She doesn't know yet though. But what is your thought? We did a little mini tour sort of thing about the 48 blocks of Atlantic City.
I have to be honest with you, and I was thinking about that when we were driving around together. I was almost embarrassed for me, because I didn't realize how beautiful and how much opportunity was here, how much culture was here, how much diversity was here. It's absolutely this incredible palette of creativity and culture and ethnicity and opportunity, real estate wise and otherwise, to really bring events to a much larger scale here. And I think that this is a perfect primer for what's going to happen in the future. It's also real close to what's happening around the pandemic, right? Let's get the music on. Let's get the lifestyle out. Let's get people dancing in the street again. Let's make some money and give it back to the community that deserves it. And this is a hell of a community.
But, we need to get folks back to work, whether it's the industry, the hospitality industry, the entertainment industry. It's huge. We're really suffering because when we opened at 25% sometime in July, moved up to 35%. So when you're opening up at those percentages, we're not able to employ those 3,000 at a building, or 25. And you know this in your line of work.
Yeah, and I think one of the amazing things that this past week being there, and there's such a market difference at 35 and 50%, because we went to 50% this week. And that in itself brought a whole different level of energy. There was live music. I mean,
Right.
events guy, watching people work. You almost cry with the waitresses and the bartenders and the guy that's delivering the food behind the scenes and the freight docks, the musicians that are getting ready to play, and they're all sitting there saying, "This is the first time I've been on stage in a year." There's something that it's like the walls came down a little bit, and there's something beautiful about it. To that point, you do have to be safe. Events are, and ours specifically, we're all about health and safety and what's needed. But I think it's a good thing that they're stepping it up at the government level, right? Because
Right.
if you're in a position where you went from 25 to 100, I think it'd be a shock to the system.
Right. Right. It would be. People, first of all, probably wouldn't come out in that sense, to full throttle. So as we're talking about numbers, and, I like to bounce around, as you know, when we're riding around, like we're talking about everything other than what we were talking about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But when you talk numbers, Shawn, you put some very impressive numbers, and I like to talk about that 900,000. What type of event brings that type of throughout the year and reputation? But what you do brings so much to a community, to a town, and that team that you put together. But talk about that number.
It's the ripple effect, right? So yeah, back in the days when I was involved in other events, I could do close to 900,000 nights of hotel rooms a year in a place like Las Vegas. I think we're moving niche and focused. And let's talk about the DJ show, not my past, right?
Right.
So the Expo alone, I've got 5,100 attendees at 4 nights during one time a year only. That's 20,000 room nights coming to your hotels. If you think about that, there's a lot of opportunity there. And cut it back, maybe it's 15,000 because some people driving. But the opportunity for the city, right, is so important, which is why we want city collaboration. We want state collaboration. We want community collaboration. I want to collaborate with you on things. We want the university to get involved. We need volunteers. I have events and a hospitality guy, right? They've got a program for it. Come work with us,
Right.
Be a part of it. We want this to be a community event. It's lifestyle, and everybody's lifestyle applies.
Listen, we got a great crew working with us, Shawn, Stockton University. They gave an ACMike team, ACMike, an opportunity to do this. And it's such a joy to see these young men and women, and then the staff members getting involved in the city. Where actually Stockton University first started here. Dr. Harvey Kesselman, the president, was the first, one of the first students, first class, and now he's the president. So what you just spoke on is a great way, like you said, to get the community, not only the students or whomever, just involved, because that's a thing that happens here in Atlantic City, and probably most towns. When an event comes into town, they say, "Oh, you got to embrace us. You got to do this for." But you know what? It works both ways, like anything else. So I really appreciate that. Listen, we got about a minute left. I want to give you the opportunity to tell folks where they can find you, what we got going on, and what we're going to be doing in August, sir.
So, you'll have a strip at the bottom of the screen to find us on a website. We're calling all DJs. If you're into sound, and think about DJs for a second. You got a bedroom DJ, your mobile DJ, your club DJ. It's a community. We want to build the community, create community, and we want to make Atlantic City the center of that experience. We want your help from a city perspective, from a state perspective, from a school perspective. Mike, we'll collaborate on some things. We want to energize the economy here, want to give back, and use this foundation for a long-term game. That's what we're about. Music is the sound of the soul. So let us work together.
There you go, folks. You heard it. Listen, we're going to be coming to you and letting you know what's happening. Shawn Hazan, my newfound friend. Thank you so much for coming on the ACMike Show. We really appreciate it and can't wait to see you on the 48 blocks of AC. Folks, stay right where you're at. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, welcome back to the ACMike Show. Now we have a special guest, woman of many hats, Sylvia Granado, brought to us by our friend of the ACMike Show, Dave Pena. Hope you enjoy. Stay right there.
Thank you so much, ACMike. I'm excited to introduce our next guest. She's a phenomenal woman, really interesting. Her name is Sylvia Grado. She is an astrologer, as well as being a holistic yoga healer. She'll explain what all that means, but she's also a DJ, a mom. She's got so many stories, but I can't wait to ask the questions. So first of all, Sylvia, thank you so much for joining the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's start off with this. Sylvia, where are you from?
So I'm originally from Poland, came to Atlantic City in 2007 as a student exchange, looking for some adventure, learn the language. Went back home, graduated my college, and came back for the love of the country, for the love of Atlantic City. And not long time after, I became a DJ. I became I believe, first female DJ in Atlantic City. And it was fun. It was a great 6 years. I DJed in the local places like Sophia's, which was very famous, Wednesday nights, Bungalow. I don't know if everybody remembers the sports bar at the pier, Game On. That was the name, Game On. Yep, that was a great, but I DJed there too. Most of the time I DJ for European community. Like I said, I'm from Poland, so I try to keep everybody together by special nights, European nights.
Right.
Beer garden in Caesars, Dusk, which it's not here anymore. So many places. I was very close actually to move to Philadelphia when I decided to be a mom. So from being a mommy, I went back to college, which is Stockton, again, just so I can refresh and get another degree. There's never a wrong to go, for education, in my opinion. And while this process, I fell in love with yoga, and I was always into astrology. And when I saw that combination between yoga and astrology and how I can help people by knowing the signs and the guidelines to the personalities, that was it.
You have to diversify, but you also have to do things that you love. So DJing, you loved, obviously. You love being a mom. Yoga is part of your spiritual being and your well-being. But also at the same time, we have AC Weekly every single week in the magazine AC Weekly here in Atlantic City. You could look into the back, I think it's the last two back pages, you could find Sylvia and me doing our weekly horoscopes. Now it's really Sylvia's that has the gift of astrology. What I do is basically set it up for her and allow her to express what's going on that month. So Sylvia, give our audience a view of what astrology is and how it connects with people. And some people are into it, some people aren't. But how does it translate to the average person reading about astrology? Because I know I read the astrology in every single paper I pick up. So what are your thoughts?
My thoughts about astrology and why I realized it's such a great tool for me. And I'm so happy for all the knowledge that I have about each signs, because let's take the example, like you said, we do this every single week, every single month. Right now, we're under the Aries. It's a brand new cycle. Aries is the first sign. So now when you think about it, and when you have an Aries around you, you'll see how they always want to be first. They always want to be the fire starter. They always want to begin something new. And that's what we feel up in the air. Then when I combine the zodiacs with the planets, and then when I combine the yoga and the movement, this is no brainer for me how I can help people. For example, Aries rule head. What does it mean? They can't rest. We need to remind them for them to be gentle for themselves and rest. It's once when you get into it, once when you read and when you see the energies and the people that you are surrendered, you're like, okay, that makes sense that I connect with this person or that person. This person is the same like me. I like this difference in, another person, because obviously it's going to be a different sign. What I also was going to say about you, with all of this time that I've been working with you, I wanted to add on the end, like you said, we prepare this every week, whatever I've done, it's about the passion. And you're the one who told me that we all live for a passion. If there is no excitement, there is no passion, there is no creation. That's what I'm thinking.
And you give the passion, and we could see it and we could hear it in the words every week when we just read AC Weekly, and more to come. I think what you have in the future is we have television and radio, and I would love to assist to get your message out there. And I think we've taken the steps doing it here locally in Atlantic City. So many people break out, in the astrology world, and I could say Walter Mercado, and obviously Walter broke out of Puerto Rico. Everybody has to be somewhere or have some following. And I believe being here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, it opens up almost the Northeast for us to allow New Yorkers, Philadelphians, everybody in the surrounding areas to get a regional glimpse of Sylvia Granado, especially when things get a little bit easier, where we could all be in an arena or a building together. Is that your end goal too? Do you want to get out there to the stage and meet people, and also just work with people one-on-one?
There's no better summer than summer in New Jersey, and my yoga classes on the beach is just a way to go. It's an air, you breathe, you hear the ocean, you do the yoga trapeze, a wheel. And that's what I talk also about the astrology, because that's how I go. I go right now with the Aries sign, so you will immediately know that I'm going to do all the exercise that will help to relax your head and your mind. And Aries are also about the action. So that's what I'm trying to, any kind of exercise, any kind of zodiacs, it's also about bring that action to everybody, to refresh the memory that it's never too late to start wherever you are. And let's say if this is a new cycle of the astrology, why not to take this as a new beginning? Okay, you know what, I have an excuse. This is a new thing. Let me start brand new, because we are here to experience this life. Right. So it's never too late to start anything. Look at my path, how I went through everything. And I can say that if you really want and truly want something, you will succeed.
Tell us about going to Stockton, and give us a message for Atlantic City for you in the future.
I decided to go to the Stockton as I was a newly mom. And I didn't have a idea after my DJ career, after my nightlife industry. I was kind of lost. So I decided to go to the school, because I think if you really don't know what to do in life, education is way to go. And I signed up for a program. And while maybe half year later, I already start seeing outcome of my knowledge and of the program. And that's the time when I gained a studio, yoga studio. I was looking for the business, and I couldn't believe that I'm actually doing, like you said, something that I love with the passion. And now, I could put everything in the one place. I still have 3 classes to go. I left them because it's my second degree. So I left this for a little bit later. I like to come back and jump, to refresh everything a little bit later. But it's been great experience. And if you are looking for something, if you are looking to open the business, if you are looking for change, just read and go back to the school. Or in this case, college. This is the best way to go.
That's awesome. Sylvia Granado, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Many exciting things happening.
I appreciate it.
Column every single week in AC Weekly. So pick up AC Weekly every single Thursday it comes out. And we have an article in the back, and it may be directly talking to you. Awesome. Sylvia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll see you on the next column.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that great interview, Dave and Sylvia. We appreciate you. Listen, folks, stay right where you're at for our last one of the night. It's going to be a good one. Put your gloves on. Hey, folks, here we go. Back to the show. We got a very special guest here. Listen, you know how much I love sports, Boardwalk Hall, all that good stuff. This guy here had some of the biggest mega fights in the world, let alone the world, right here in the 401 to 48 blocks of Atlantic City on the historic Atlantic City Boardwalk. First of its kind, longest of its kind. Kelly the Ghost Pavlik, welcome to the ACMike Show.
Hey, it's an honor. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So thank you again. Listen, we want to touch a little bit. Here we go. I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. I'm a Philly guy, moved out here to Atlantic County, Atlantic City, yada, yada, yada. But we always loved fighting. The Blue Horizon, you know, Smoking Joe, Ernie Shavers, all those. My dad used to grab me by the hands. My mom was like, oh, you can't bring them there. You can't. No, that's how we learned. But there was boxing, wrestling. But, of course, one of my favorite places was Philadelphia and Atlantic City. But I got to be honest with you. Growing up, Kelly, Youngstown, Ohio was one of my favorite places. And I'll tell you why. We had a quarterback named Ron Jaworski who came in the late 70s. And the guy was like, he wasn't loved in the very beginning because we didn't know. We didn't know who he was, what was going on. But what we found out that he was tough as nails, kept getting up. And then he led us to a Super Bowl in 1980. So tell us about young Kelly, Youngstown a little bit, and how we are where we are today, bro.
Yeah, young Kelly coming up in Youngstown. It was a blue collar work area. It was a tough, rough area, and it's obviously even more so now. But that's kind of where I got it from. My dad and my mom, they were great parents, and they tried to instill the right things into us. But it was just that thing. I had two older brothers, and I followed them. They were in sports, and the area was a little tough. But I just followed them a little bit. I played other sports. I got tired of playing baseball and football. I took up martial arts a little bit. Got a little bit tired of martial arts. I'm not picking on it, but it was just a little dull for me. So, I got into the boxing. Finally, my parents let me. They didn't want me fighting. I was the baby. I was the youngest sibling of the brothers, and they didn't want me fighting. But I started doing it, and once I got rolling with it, they seen that I was actually pretty good. Actually, it was funny. The first time I sparred, I got my butt whipped, and they were happy because they thought that I was going to quit. They thought I was done. And I came home from school, and I packed my bag. I came out of the bedroom, and my dad was, in the living room, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm going to the gym to whoop that kid's butt." So.
Right. So funny you just say that too. Had a little background, Taekwondo. I can't even say it right, but my father, he had us in that as a kid. And then we would always come home. I have four brothers and a couple sisters that were just as tough as us. And it was the same thing. We weren't able to hit anybody. I think it was, you're sparring and whatnot. And then, you were boxing with wrestling. So just great, a contrast of sports and, when you're physical and the discipline. We're going to touch about that in a minute, but some other major guys from Youngstown too. And we're going to touch about this on our radio show down there. Yeah, Boom Boom Mancini and all these other guys and some great fighters at the time from Youngstown. But bring us, Kelly, two-part question here. Tell us where the Ghost came from, and then also going through your division and to your first, I believe it was NABF or correct me if I'm wrong, your first championship, brother. Tell us how that got out there, the name, and then, leading up, going through the division.
Yeah, so I got the Ghost. It was kind of a coincidence. I was fighting in Cleveland, and which was right an hour north of Youngstown, and I was probably like one of the only white kids in the tournament. So, a lot of the guys on the team, the Cleveland team, they start calling me Ghost, because, especially during that time of that tournament, it was wintertime. I was pasty white. And I don't mean you couldn't get much whiter. And so I was there fighting, and then I brought the film home. This was the VHS days. My brother Michael couldn't make it to the fight. We brought the film home, and at that time in the amateurs, believe it or not, I was a very slick fighter. It wasn't all about the power. And he came home and he was watching the film, and he goes, "Man," he's like, you move like a ghost in there." And I just thought it was such a coincidence that for two different reasons that I was getting called the Ghost. And at the time, nobody had that nickname that I knew of. You know what I mean? And it kind of just really, really stuck with us. And that was pretty much it on the nickname. As far as the first title that I had, yeah, you were right. I fought for the NABF title. It was against Venancio Zuniga. And I'm going to tell you right now, there was a guy that he was signed by Top Rank. He was trained in Vegas. 17 and 1, 16 knockouts. That goes to show you that the kid could hit.
Wow.
And he was strong. And not only could he hit, he had heavy hands. He had he was known to throw over 100 punches around. So we knew going into that fight that was a very high risk, low reward type of fight. But you know, I never strayed away from any opponents, no matter what anybody tries to say. I always fought everybody they threw in front of me, and that was another guy that, you know, I could have easily said no, we're not going to fight him, and we could have moaned and complained about it, but you know, we didn't do that. We took the fight, and we ended up stopping him in the 9th round.
And you had a reputation, tough as nails, may get popped here or there, whatever, but that wasn't it. You know, if you, Kelly, you hear the announcers talking that BS, blah, 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 and then here comes Kelly, like, oh, he's up, bro. Here he comes. Talk to us a little bit. We got about 3 minutes left. A couple of those Taylor fights. I mean, which were some of your, like, the telltale that, you know, first of all, the nickname was bad. You know what? It was like that just like caught somebody. But some of those fights that really, like, boom, lifted Kelly to the next level.
Yeah, well, obviously the first Taylor fight, you know, to this day will be very huge because it was the title fight. I'll tell you, a big one was the Edison Miranda, right before Jermaine Taylor. I mean, there was a kid at the time when I fought him, you know, when they were making a fight, that he was the Godzilla of boxing, and he was. I mean, he was tearing through people. He beat Alan Green, who was the top guy. He beat Arthur Abraham, which I think everybody knew he did, but it was over in Germany. So, I mean, Edison Miranda was that type of guy, and he could hit that hard. That was a huge win because nobody was giving me a chance in that fight. Right. And not only did I beat him, but I beat him up pretty good and knocked him out. And then, of course, you know, obviously Jermaine Taylor. I mean, 2007, I really didn't see many fighters make a run, even up to this date, like I did in 2007. It was just a lot of big guys that I went through. And so the 2 Taylor fights were great, but, you know, really the Edison Miranda, I think, is a really underrated fight.
Right. And you used to bang him out. I saw you humbly talk about some power to the guy you fought for the first title. Listen, this dude right here we're talking about has got, I believe, 40 wins, 34 by knockout. That's got to be one of the highest rates of knockouts of any professional fighter that I think. And that's just ACMike talking. I got one of my idols on the back right shoulder here. My dad used to love Roberto Duran, and I used to say, this guy hits like him. So listen, Kelly, we're about at the end of this year. I wanted to let folks know where they can find you, because you got some really cool stuff happening with your foundation and also your podcast and your Facebook pages, bro. Please hit us up with that so we can follow you on there.
Yeah, my Instagram is pavlik.kelly. I've been really putting a lot out on Instagram and doing a lot. So pavlik.kelly for Instagram. At Kelly Pavlik is TikTok. It's the new thing, the new social media. So we're on TikTok. And then you know, just Kelly Pavlik on Facebook, you can find it. And that's what I'm doing. So the podcast is The Punchline with Kelly Pavlik and James Dominguez. And yeah, I'll be keeping everybody updated. Once I got a lot going on, and once everything gets moving, I'll keep everybody up to date, but a lot of good things in the works.
And we'll talk more, and hopefully leading up to August, Kelly's also going to be an inductive to the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. Going to be a great ceremony, 3 days, 4 days of fun out here on the boardwalk and having a good time. Listen, bro, look forward to seeing you again. We'll be in touch. And again, thank you for what you did, not only fighting wise as a fight fan, but what you did for Atlantic City and the game itself, because you brought people here, enjoyed themselves. And man, that ain't no joke what you did for a living, brother. Thank you.
I truly appreciate it.
You got it, Kelly. Thank you. Signing off, folks. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more ACMike Show in a minute. Hey, folks, unfortunately, here we are at the end of another show, but I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. Had a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. Listen, special thanks to Stockton University and our production team. Awesome group of folks. Special thanks to Shawn Hazan, lifestyle specialist, DJ Expo, Hascom. It's got it going on. Sylvia Granado, thank you so much for coming. Dave Pena, thank you for bringing us to her. And Kelly the Ghost Pavlik, the great boxer, Atlantic City guy. Listen, we love you. If you want to find more about ACMike, go to ACMike Facebook, Mike Lopez Facebook, Live, Work, Play Facebook, ACMike NJ on Instagram. We'd love you. We want you to come back and join us, and make sure each and every one of you Live, Work, Play AC. See you next time.